Number one here. And yeah, let's go ahead and start you off with maybe that southern cell. If you want to just pull it up a little bit, Jeremy, so it's a little bit better. There we go. So you got, this is the Nicholson area, probably just to the northeast of Nicholson now. And it's going to be heading up on a northeast track, taking you up towards 92, taking you up towards 81. Some of the other communities that are going to be impacted by this looks just to the west here of Clifford, if it continues in kind of this northeast track. But you can see where Hartford is. You can see where Clifford is. And this is going to be taking kind of that northeastward track. You can see Elk Mountain Ski Resort included in on this if it were to hold together. It looks like that's going to be at 621 roughly when it would get into that vicinity. So a little ways to go before it gets there, but you can see some of the other communities potentially impacted by this. The Clifford area probably within the next 10 minutes or so. So you're going to want to go ahead and get to that tornado safe place if you can. Jeremy, let's go ahead and go with that rotation to the north, the northern cell. Maybe it's not quite as impressive, but again, there is that what we call a mesocyclone. So you've got those winds moving both to and away from the radar. So these winds in here are moving away from the radar. These colors here, meaning that the wind is blowing towards the radar. So there's your pretty significant rotation. You can see where Great Bend is, so you can see where 81. So it's just to the east of that. And this cell is going to continue to move eastbound, would be in the vicinity of Stormtracker sometime maybe within the next half hour or so. Again, that is assuming that this were to all kind of hold together. So some pretty significant rotation in here. National Weather Service is watching that. We're also watching that area of rotation a little bit further down to the south as well. Jeremy, are you seeing anything?
I'm seeing the same thing you're seeing here.
Okay.
As far as the radar velocity, I'm going to go back to radar here too, so we can see if there's any more of a indication of a hook echo. It seems like it's starting to intensify there again in the northern storm.
Yeah, that northern cell is certainly pretty concerning with that pretty significant hook. That's going to be up in the Susquehanna area, Oakland, Lanesboro, Brand, Stevens Point. You're going to want to all be in your tornado safe place. That's going to be in a basement or lowest interior room away from windows up in that area. So again, that's Brushville, Susquehanna, Oakland, Lanesboro, Brand, Stevens Point. These are all just some examples of communities where you need to be in your tornado safe place. So this is going to be along routes 92, 171 in Susquehanna County. These are the communities and roadways of concern at this point. You can see where that significant hook is with that storm. Wouldn't be surprised, Jeremy, if there is, with the significant winds that we're seeing there too, we're close to the radar. Just kind of curious if we're seeing any kind of correlation coefficient issues with that, but maybe not. I've kind of got it up here in mine. I'm not really seeing.
Yeah, not too much.
Yeah, not a lot there. So let's go back to radar. I think people understand that probably a little bit better. Also just keeping an eye on some of our
show the
camera views.
too.
Yeah, so that's just kind of the overview. So look, I mean, here's the situation. We are under a tornado watch for a lot of our eastern counties. I'll step back in front of camera one here in just a second. Normally, during this time, you'd be taking in your 6 o'clock news, but that's just not the case right now. Right now, we're doing some breaking coverage of tornado warnings that are actively in effect. And we're tracking 2 different tornado warnings. So we've got one down to the north side of Lackawanna County, southern side of Susquehanna County. This tornado warning, that one remains in effect until 6:15. This is the one that's got some slightly better rotation going on with it. We've also got another active tornado warning, this one for Susquehanna, far northern Wayne counties. So we're kind of getting into the hinterlands up here, but certainly a lot of folks still under the gun here in northern Susquehanna County. So basically from Great Bend over towards Stormtracker, we're into Susquehanna, Oakland, Lanesboro. These are just some of the other communities that are potentially under the gun here, as well as Stevens Point under that tornado warning. This northern one stays in effect until 6:30. So keeping our eyes on 2 distinctly different areas of potential tornadic activity. We've got one active warning here to the north. We've got this other one down a little bit further to the south. Jeremy, if you want to show the rotation signatures again with that would be great. So we can kind of give folks a sense of, are we still seeing the active rotation within these storms? Because again, we're looking at 2 different tornado warnings here up on the screen. So there we go. We've got still
still vigorous.
Still some pretty good rotation with that cell. That's going to be up in the vicinity of Susquehanna in Susquehanna County here. So you get that strong movement away from the radar with these colors here. We've got movement towards the radar on the other side. Now they're not exactly like linked up real close together necessarily, which means this is probably some broader area of rotation, but still we've got to keep our eyes on that as that continues to move off to the north and to the east to some of the other communities in far northeastern Susquehanna County. But we're also tracking this area of rotation right in here too. So this is pulling just to the northeast now of the Nicholson area, getting into the south side of Susquehanna County, and that's going to be moving, looks like to the south of Hartford. So Hartford looks like you are tornado clear from the south. This one's going to pass down to your south, but about to go, this area of rotation about to go over 81. So certainly if you know anyone who's about to be, taking this drive, heads up to them. They need to be very weather aware and aware of their surroundings with this particular cell, as this one continues to move right over potentially 81. So it's northeast, it looks like, of Nicholson now, continues to move northeast in some of the other communities across far southern portions of Susquehanna County. Included in that, looks like far eastern end of this warning would be places like Herrick Center and over towards Herrick Township. That's getting into the Elk Mountain ski area. Clifford, I believe, also included in on this too. So keeping our eyes on this particular cell as it continues to pull northeast.
Yes, I wanted to just mention, you've been giving updates throughout our entire coverage from David Nicosia of National Weather Service in Binghamton, and he has just indicated that there is now a debris signature showing up just west of Susquehanna Township, west of Hickory Grove there in Susquehanna County. So that's that northern one with the hook, correct?
Yeah, that's the northern one. Yeah, that's going to be the one.
So even though we didn't see too much of a correlation coefficient, it seems like there is some debris.
Let's pop that up if we can, that correlation coefficient, Jeremy. Yeah, Dave Nicosia, he's the meteorologist in charge up there in the National Weather Service in Binghamton. Yeah, continue to pull northeast. So I guess what he's looking at here, my guess, Jeremy, would be what? Probably this pixel.
Yep.
This is the pixel right here. So
and that's all you need is just a single pixel, because I mean, it seems like not too much space, but we're talking several miles in this one singular pixel. So
exactly, yeah, because we're these tornadoes, they're not giant in scope, right? They're so narrow in scope. So yeah, this pixel is all you need to let you know that debris is being lofted. So we can go ahead and say pretty confidently now that there is a tornado on the ground at this point. So people in this neck of the woods need to be really heads up that there is potentially a tornado on the ground at this point. That is a radar confirmed tornado then in that sense, if they're going to go ahead and tell us that there's debris signatures showing up in Susquehanna County. So yeah, Susquehanna Township, Oakland, Lanesboro, Brand, Stevens Point, heads up for you. Tornado potentially on the ground, potentially a radar confirmed tornado. So not that we're seeing it with our eyeballs, but the radar is seeing it with its quote unquote eyeballs, and that is enough to let you know that hey, we've got to be extra heads up on this, as we could be seeing debris being lofted. So that's in the Susquehanna Township. So again, Oakland, Lanesboro, Brand, Stevens Point, some of the other communities, Melrose too. You're going to have to be heads up here with this potential tornado that may very well be on the ground as we speak. You're going to need to be in your safe place. But we don't want to forget the people who are in that southern end of the warning there too, Jeremy. We've got that one in northern Lackawanna County getting into southern end of Susquehanna County. If we could show the radar on that and just show people kind of where we stand with this particular one. Take you off to the north and to the east with that. So again, that's going to be, looks like it's probably in the vicinity of Lennoxville, Royal, West Clifford, South Gibson. These are some of the communities where this particular cell may potentially be. And with the level 2 radar, we might actually be able to get kind of a real good sense of kind of where we stand now with it and to see where that potential hook is. And yeah, there you go. You can see it looks like south end of 81 is where this thing might be now. So it's getting ready to cross into Lennoxville, Clifford, Royal, West Clifford, and South Gibson. These are some of the communities potentially in the path of this potential tornado. We're not seeing any updates from the National Weather Service on that, letting us know that there might be a tornado on the ground. All right, yeah, so let's do a recap. Jeremy, if you can just kind of broaden out here, just broaden out the scope and kind of give us a sense of the broad angle view of what we're seeing. So we have 2 active tornado warnings here, across eastern Pennsylvania. We've also got a tornado watch that remains in effect until a little bit later on this evening, 11 o'clock to be exact, for our eastern counties. But the 2 active tornado warnings, this is why we're staying on the air here with you for continuous coverage. It's because those active tornado warnings. And, you know, if you're watching right now from Williamsport, Mill Hall, or some of the other communities out in central Pennsylvania, this is all long past you now. You've seen some other damage. I actually heard from Tucker Smith a little while ago, and he was saying up over 3 inches of rain in the Lewisburg area when those severe storms moved through there. Now that they've swept east, probably not a lot going on out there, but now it's our turn here in eastern Pennsylvania to track our tornadic weather. So 2 tornado warnings that we're tracking. You've got this one that's crossing over 81 now across northern Lackawanna County, south end of Susquehanna County. That one remains in effect until 6:15. We've also got this additional tornado warning across northern Susquehanna County into far northern Wayne County, and that one remains in effect until 6:30. And this is the one that we're trying to be a little extra heads up on because we're hearing that there is potentially debris being lofted into the air with this particular cell, which leads us to believe that there is an actual funnel on the ground with this one, and that's why we need to be a little bit extra heads up. But again, there are 2 active warnings right now in eastern Pennsylvania that we're keeping our eyes on, and that's why we continue with this continuous coverage. If you wanted to pop over to radar there, Jeremy, unless you saw something there in the chat line.
No, I didn't see anything in the chat line, but I just did want to mention that there was a severe thunderstorm warning just issued for portions of Luzerne County. Okay. So even though they're not seeing too much in the way of a tornado or rotation in the atmosphere, they will be seeing some straight line winds, possibly up to 60 miles per hour as well.
Sure. Yeah, don't want to leave them out. Certainly a lot of active weather going on even in areas outside of tornadoes here on your Monday evening. And there you go. That's the area that Jeremy was just talking about. Jeremy, this tornado warning is tracking towards the Hazleton area. And I know that... Severe thunderstorm warning. So I'm sorry, check that. Severe thunderstorm warning. And I know that you have some fluency with Spanish. If you wanted to just give a quick recap, maybe en Espanol, for our Spanish friends down in that neck of the woods. Is that possible?
I probably should do that recorded, but
okay.
I will definitely make sure that I have that prepared for them a little bit later.
Okay,
yep.
Perfect. Yeah, just want to keep our friends down, and because we know obviously.
Pero hay aguaceros torrenciales en Hazleton para las horas coming up. Okay. So I do want to make sure I prepare my forecast for them, but just so that they're aware. Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Very good. Okay. Yeah. Because I just know that you've got that kind of on lock for us there. So I want to make sure that our Spanish-speaking population in Susquehanna County can be as up to date and up to speed. Okay, so what we're going to do here is maybe just kind of recap the situation here, Jeremy. So we're going to face on over yonder and just kind of recap and reassess the situation.
We have a tornado emergency, it looks like.
A tornado emergency. Okay, so that's the confirmed tornado that's on the ground. That's what they're going to go ahead there and do. Okay, so meteorologist Jeremy Lewan and myself, good evening to all of you watching at home. We have 2 active tornado warnings that we're tracking, and now what we call a tornado emergency has just been issued. This is going to be for northeastern Susquehanna County, and what that means is that we were just talking about within the last 5 minutes that we're seeing debris being lofted into the air, which is now what we call a radar-confirmed tornado. Radar, maybe we're not seeing it with eyeballs. Maybe someone's not saying, hey, from law enforcement or a trained spotter saying, hey, we see a funnel, it's on the ground. But what we are seeing is debris being lofted up into the air, and that's created by the tornado taking it and picking it up. So that tornado emergency, that's in effect for northeastern Susquehanna, northern Wayne counties, probably until 6:30.
And it was just issued now by 6:10. That's when the tornado was actually confirmed for that portion of northern Susquehanna County, as well as into Wayne County as well. It's 11 miles southwest of Deposit, and it was located over Susquehanna at the time. It's moving east at 20 miles per hour, so that's when you see that purple indication come up. That's when you know that it has been confirmed by the National Weather Service. As we had said, it's radar confirmed, but nonetheless, we saw that debris being lofted into the atmosphere, and that's how we can confirm that there is something spinning up and causing some type of debris being thrown around there. We normally look at something called correlation coefficient to be able to determine the size and shape of what's being lofted. So it's no longer just rain or hailstones, it's now also debris as well in that area. And that is once again in effect until, actually it looks like it's in effect until 6:30, but it would reach Hiawatha around 6:35.
Okay. Okay. Thank you, Jeremy. Yeah, and so this is the area that we're really concerned with, and you can see Jeremy's, zooming in right on it here. So this was this like a fuchsia kind of a color? About a fuchsia?
Yep.
This is hard for someone who's colorblind, but fuchsia nonetheless. So this is the area that we're most concerned with at this point because of that confirmed tornado, radar confirmed tornado on the ground here. So it was in the vicinity of Susquehanna, but now it has moved on to the east from that. Jeremy, if you want to show the rotation products, the velocity products, storm relative preferably, kind of zoom in on both of these areas of rotation. So yeah.
To diminish in intensity, and this is the one that we really need to focus on here.
Sure, yeah, that southern one maybe not quite as wrapped up as maybe it was a little while ago, but certainly this one is still quite wrapped up. You got the winds moving away from the radar here along 171. That's going to be in the vicinity of Stevens Point, and then we've got the winds moving back towards the radar up on the other side. So this is the broad area of rotation that we're watching. We've seen and have radar confirmed that debris has been lofted into the air by a tornado. So this is a confirmed tornado situation here, and it's moving through probably some more rural areas of Susquehanna County as you get off to these far northern areas, especially once you cross over into far northern Wayne County too. Certainly the population starts to become less and less, but nonetheless there are still plenty of folks who watch us up in this neck of the world. So this is the area that we're going to have to continue to watch. Jeremy's going to put a track on it. I wouldn't be surprised. A lot of these communities here, these are going to be up into New York State. A lot of those communities listed there, or just on the other side of the Delaware River. So again, this is the area that we're most concerned with, this kind of rotation signature that you're seeing here throughout northeastern Susquehanna County, getting ready to cross over. Looks like it's going to cross over probably right where the county borders meet here, would be my best guess. So again, the Stevens Point area, Brand, Lanesboro, the storm is kind of just passing or just getting ready to pass you as it moves off to the northeast, which is to say, Jeremy, I think Great Bend and up and down 81, a lot of these folks were still under that tornado emergency, but I would say anywhere west of 81 right now with this particular cell, you are severe clear. You're tornado clear from this cell as it's kind of moved on by. So from Hartford up to Great Bend, points west from this cell, I think you're okay. But again, this is the cell that we're really honed in on, keyed in on here, just to the northeast of 171. As this area of rotation continues to move northeast. It has shown signs and has lofted debris up into the air. Let's go back over to a general radar product there, Jeremy, that level 2 radar on these two cells, just to keep people up to date and up to speed with what we're seeing too radar-wise. So you've got this cell, maybe a little bit, almost less of a hook. You can see in some of those earlier scans there, that may have been what we call a debris ball, which is the stuff, unfortunately, getting lofted up into the air. Maybe not quite as much of a semblance of that at this point with this cell, but still, this storm continues to move northeastward. We're in far northeastern areas of Susquehanna County. And we're actually after 6:15 now, Jeremy, so I'm guessing that other tornado warning was allowed to expire?
Looks like it, yes.
Looks like
it was.
Okay, so yeah, now we're down to this last tornado emergency, I guess is what we call it, because of this kind of fuchsia color up in northeastern portions of Susquehanna, far northwestern portions of Wayne County. So this is the area that we're still kind of staying with you on. This warning goes until 6:30, so until that expires, or expires earlier, whatever the case may be, this may be what we have to continue to watch most closely. Are you seeing anything else, chat line, Jeremy-wise? Is there anything else popping up?
No, nothing else popping up just yet.
Nothing else new on that?
So it seems like this is the storm to track here.
Okay.
As we go towards 6:30.
Sure. Let's go back over to just kind of a general radar view. Level 3 radar would even be fine, just to kind of give people a sense of what we're seeing across all of eastern Pennsylvania at this point. And that's where the action is. We were just mentioning a little while ago, if you were out in the Lewisburg area, into Mill Hall or Williamsport, into Tioga County, your Wellsboro, your action was a little bit earlier today, but things have certainly quieted down in a pretty big way since those storms have now moved off to the east. But now we're keeping our eyes on, the storms that are now moving closer and into some of the valley cities. If they're not there yet, they will be soon. And we've also seen our fair amount of sunshine here today, so these storms would have the potential to kind of strengthen. That storm down by Hazleton, you said that was still severe warned, yes? should be.
I believe it is. Yep.
Yeah, so that one, you know, not tornadic, but again, still, you know, still a severe storm nonetheless, capable of producing some 60-mile-per-hour winds, perhaps some hail associated with that. As that storm continues to move east, it would be in the vicinity of Hickory Run State Park, and that's a very popular park there in portions of, kind of borderline there between Carbon and Luzerne counties. So have to be heads up with that cell, not showing any kind of signs of rotation or anything on that one yet, but again, just a severe thunderstorm warning on that. So we'll keep our eyes on that one. But again, it's that storm in far northeastern portions of Susquehanna County in the area of Lanesboro, Brand, Stevens Point. That's the one that has triggered this tornado emergency because of confirmed tornadic debris being lofted up into the air. Melrose also, you should be sheltered at this point. It's very close to all of you, and that storm continues to lift away. Looks like in this area of Wayne County, too, that it's kind of heading towards. You've got Winterdale. Looks like it's going to pass probably off to the north of that, I would say, north of Winterdale. So this is going to be primarily a Susquehanna County issue here for the next 10 minutes or so before this particular storm is eventually going to lift up into New York State, where they don't have a tornado warning up in Broome or Sullivan counties in New York State, but this is the cell that they're also kind of watching, and this is the one that moves northeast. So again, the Brand, Lanesboro, Stevens Point area of Susquehanna County storm is probably just getting to the northeast of you at this point, and now it's kind of moving into some more remote areas of far northeastern Susquehanna County. Winterdale, again, is kind of further east in Wayne County. You're probably going to be okay out of this as it kind of lifts off to the north. You can see that the tornado emergency color is kind of underlaid underneath this particular radar shot. So you are under the warning, but my guess would be that this particular cell, just kind of based on the storm motion, kind of heading more northeast than east at this point. So I think would generally be okay from that. But this warning, and why we continue with this continuous coverage here with you on your news station, is because of this tornado emergency. It's the last tornado issuance in our area at this point. We do have some other severe thunderstorm warnings as we kind of give you the broad angle view, just to give you some perspective of what else is going on. In southern Columbia County, in the Ashland area of northern Schuylkill County, and then crossing 80 into Luzerne County, you have that severe thunderstorm warning. That remains in effect for you. But I know we've been spending a lot of time on that tornado emergency, rightfully so, across far northeastern portions of Susquehanna County and far western Wayne County, but don't want to leave you out that there is certainly still some activity ongoing across the southern tier of our viewing area. So again, that will include places like Hazleton. You've got that severe warned storm moving into your neck of the woods, getting ready to basically buzz right along 80. Looks like to the west of Jim Thorpe, Weisport area. Looks like kind of looking northwest from Lehighton. You can probably see quite a bit of lightning at this point. There's a storm there that looks like it's kind of getting going. You can see where Hickory Run State Park is. Storms are closing in on that. So we're keeping our eyes certainly kind of keyed in on this as these storms continue to move eastward. But it's that cell that continues to spin its way, probably getting ready to cross over into New York State now. Yeah, it very well may have gotten there. If you want to go ahead and pop on that level 2 radar there, Jeremy, we may be able to kind of tell that this storm may have crossed over. You know, that hook is still, it's still right here. Yeah, it is borderline here to getting out of here, which is good. But unfortunately, with that confirmed rotation within this storm and that confirmed debris being lofted up from this tornado, we've gone from a radar indicated tornado to a radar confirmed tornado in this kind of an instance. So that cell is the one that obviously has drawn the most eyeballs for us here over the last 10 minutes or so, since that other tornado warning in northern Lackawanna County was allowed to expire. But this is the one that we continue to watch. Is there still some rotation with this? Do we still have any kind of mesocyclone associated with that, which would be the winds moving towards and away from the radar there, Jeremy?
Loading it up here.
Yeah, I know. Unfortunately, we're still working out the kinks here in the new digs.
Yes, there is still significant rotation within that.
Yeah, there sure is.
Yep.
Wow.
Let's take a look at correlation coefficient.
Yeah, you might as well. Yeah, let's see if there's still some stuff being lofted by this, because those two colors there, the kind of the reds and the cooler colors that are kind of moving away from it there, certainly lead you to believe that there's something spinning pretty rapidly there. And as we look at that, that other product, that correlation coefficient product, scanning around here, Jeremy, I don't know. I'm not really seeing anything in that scan, which is good news. You know, sometimes you can have all sorts of rotation within these storms, but not necessarily a tornado on the ground. And this may very well be an instance of that. We're seeing that significant rotation, but maybe something isn't on the ground. Maybe it's just so small that it's having a hard time doing something like lofting debris. Usually, when you're starting to talk about, you know, debris being lofted, it's a more significant tornado. I don't want to hazard a guess on an EF rating. We're going to let the National Weather Service handle that. But, you know, usually our smaller spin-ups, our EF zeros, you typically don't see that. Usually they're just so small the radar won't see it. But in this kind of an instance where we're seeing debris being kind of lofted, that could have been something perhaps a little bit more sizable. So National Weather Service undoubtedly will be out trying to track that one down tomorrow in their storm assessment as they go out and take a peek at that. But
I was thinking, John, maybe it'd be a good idea to show our audience just the difference between a watch, a warning, and an emergency, since we had that emergency in our area just north of Soroka there.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, let's show that.
As this loads up.
Absolutely. Yeah, no.
Here we go.
We'll get to it. Yeah. So when we're talking about tornadoes, there's three different things that we're most concerned with here. We've got a tornado watch, which is the conditions are favorable for development, but not necessarily imminent, and that's what we were all under for a time today. Clinton County, the only one not under tornado watch at this point. Tornado warnings are that means that it's happening. There's some radar confirmation of it, not necessarily, but you know, you're seeing some real strong rotation. The storm's moving in. It's time to take action. Time to head to your tornado safe place. The watch is you're just making a plan. The warning is it's time to act. The time is now. When we're talking tornado emergency, that means that, you know, in this description, there's, you know, human life kind of at risk here. It also means that there's confirmation of it. So many of our tornado warnings that we see are what we call radar indicated. But in this instance, it's what's called radar confirmed because we saw the debris being lofted up by this tornado. So we can go ahead and say, with some pretty high confidence that yes, this was a tornado on the ground creating this, and that's what's triggered that kind of fuchsia color on the screen. We got out of the red and into the fuchsia, and that means that it's a tornado emergency that we're watching. Let's go back to the radar there, Jeremy. We're in the last kind of 3 minutes of this warning and the last 3 minutes of our newscast as well here. So let's just track this thing as it kind of moves up out of our neck of the woods, and it looks like, yeah, it's probably right there on the border. Right there is probably where this the strong rotation is and where this tornado potentially is too. At least this very strong area of rotation as it gets ready to cross on over into Broome County up into New York State. But again, that tornado emergency continues officially for another 3 minutes, unless you're seeing anything otherwise up there in the chat, Jeremy, about this thing maybe.
David from Binghamton just said he issued another tornado warning for Susquehanna and Wayne. But I think that might be the one that we're seeing now.
This could be this one here.
Yep.
Okay, yeah, so we're continuing to track this one here. Unless you see anything else pop up there, Jeremy, just let me know. But
oh, no, there was another one issued there.
Okay.
Crossing over the border.
Okay, yes, and you can see that. Looks like it's going right on over far northern Wayne, Susquehanna, into outside of our
that one's in effect till 7 o'clock.
That one's in effect till 7. So what we'll do here, we're going to track it until it gets out of the viewing area, which is going to be once we get crossed over into the New York State line. We're outside, so that's going to be 6:30 in essence. So
right.
we'll stay with you here until 6:30, get this thing out of the viewing area because that's right where this storm is. So this is the new warning that we're watching. This one in effect until 7 o'clock this evening. This is a brand new warning that has been issued from the National Weather Service. Notice they've also gone to this red shading too, which means they probably haven't seen that radar confirmation. They haven't had any confirmation on the ground from a storm spotter or law enforcement saying we can see it. So that's why they've gone with this this red box too. So there's no longer that confirmation that this thing is still on the ground. But the tornado emergency part of this continues officially until 6:30 for Susquehanna, far northern Wayne counties until 6:30, which is about another minute and 30 seconds from now. Let's bop back over to just the radar there, Jeremy, and just kind of follow this thing out of here as it gets ready to cross on out of Pennsylvania and into New York State. And you can see that this is probably about where the storm is in that last frame. You can kind of see that little like, Yeah, there's a pronounced hook echo with this, which is letting you know that there's some very strong rotation within this storm. So this thing, and Jeremy's outlined it perfectly there, that's the area that we're watching right in here. And again, this is the last gasp of far northern Susquehanna County as it gets ready to cross over into Broome County into upstate New York. So that's the area that we are continuing to watch, and there you go into that last frame. It looks like this thing is just about out of here. So some good news that this storm is finally out, but unfortunately it's produced potentially some damage as we had some debris lofted there. National Weather Service will go ahead and confirm that for us tomorrow, and I'm sure they do one of their storm surveys. So we're coming up to the bottom of the hour here, Jeremy. Thanks a lot. You've been a huge help here today with all this. They missed the handshake at home, so we'll definitely shake that again. This guy's been absolutely stellar today. We've had a lot of tornado warnings to track.
But we're a great team. You know, that's the whole point, is that we have a wonderful news station that works together as a team to make sure you're all prepared for what's to come.
Yeah, for sure. So we hit the bottom of the hour. It looks like this particular storm is outside of our viewing area for now, but if there are any additional warnings issued, we'll be right back here with you on TV. So for now, we send it back to World News.